This sucker is getting on the freeway on 101 for the first time. The fast track for Casper, just like Carver Willis. So from the streets of San Francisco, we go to the beautiful streets of Prague, where I had a take on Carver Willis, who's going to start for the 49ers tonight at Allegiant Stadium, whom I think is now the favorite to be their starting left guard.
Perhaps the most significant 49ers offseason intel was hidden in plain sight. I had to get on the phone with one of the best coaches in college football to get it, but it is an intriguing development for the 49ers offensive line.
Carver was the easiest recruit I've ever had. He knew exactly what he wanted to do. He wanted to get into an NFL offense. He had one more year of college football to play, and he wanted to invest every ounce of his being into trying to become an NFL player. And we reached out to him, and within one day, it was almost too good to be true. It felt like with the recruiting process. But he knew what he wanted, and I felt like he could be a left tackle for us. That's where I felt we needed the most help on our offensive line, and he showed the versatility. Now, he came in at 280 pounds, and we had to get some weight on him, and we had to get his body moving the right way. But his athleticism, his feet, and his brain gave us a lot of confidence that he was going to be able to get that done.
Back to San Francisco, but you guys heard the man himself, Jedd Fisch, head coach of the University of Washington, tell us that Carver Willis was able to learn very quickly as he became the starting left tackle for the University of Washington, and perhaps he can learn very quickly to become the starting left guard for the San Francisco 49ers. The fact that Jedd Fisch is so close to Chris Foerster means that Washington runs things a lot like the 49ers do. And, well, listen to Carver Willis shortly after he was drafted on the system up there in the Pacific Northwest.
But as far as, practice tape, yeah. UW, the Niners can do no wrong at UW. We watch their walkthroughs to learn how to walk through. We watch their practice tape to learn how to practice professionally. We learn all that. So, truly nothing, Niners can do no wrong. It's an organization that UW really, really respects. So we watched it to learn. So yeah, we watched their run game to learn how to run wide zone, tight zone, all that kind of stuff. And then we watched literally the practice tape because our coach needed a good example of how to practice professionally without hurting guys and being smart. So yeah, no, UW really respects the Niners.
And then we have Jedd Fisch's side of things, and this is all so significant because we're talking about getting a player ready to perform very early in his career for the 49ers. And the fact that Carver Willis has already been doing stuff according to the 49ers plan at the University of Washington, initially it made us think, okay, well, this guy might be a 49ers center of the future, and I think that might still be the case, but they still have Jake Brendel under contract this year. But I think for the cases of the left guard position and readiness soon in that regard, that's where Jedd Fisch's system becomes even more potentially beneficial to the 49ers with Carver Willis's development now.
We try to pride ourselves to coach guys with the same philosophy as Chris does, which we want guys to run off the ball. We want guys to, play exceptionally fast at the offensive line. I think so many people consider that just be a skill position. And we want our offensive linemen to have that athleticism like a skill guy. And we try to coach that the same way Chris does. Chris is probably my best friend in this profession. And, I run a lot of things by him all the time. And I'm just so grateful that the guy that Carver gets to get coached by is Chris, because I'm not sure I know there's not a better offensive line coach in the country.
They call this Cathedral Hill in San Francisco. Why? Because Sacred Heart Cathedral right there on top of the hill. We're going to roll down into Hayes Valley. As I said, these Waymos now go on the freeway. At least they picked me to be one of the freeway customers. So as I head to SFO, you're going to get to see Casper drive on 101. Should be fun. Taking the fast track, just like Carver Willis. Now, the 49ers left guard position, I mean, it's been fascinating to see this develop over the course of training camp. It began with everybody saying, well, Connor Colby is the favorite, and he indeed was taking first-team reps for the 49ers to begin training camp. It continued with Colby taking a back seat to Robert Jones, the veteran, initially played for the Miami Dolphins, and then he was with the Cowboys last year, but had a neck injury, so he actually didn't suit up in any game action for Dallas. Jones now has injured his calf, and even though he's expected to be back for the 49ers next week, it's Carver Willis, not Colby, who has assumed first-team action, and that has meant that I would say that Carver Willis might even be the favorite to start at that position come the season opener against the Rams. Now, this is a very, very important position. It deals with some of the three techniques in the league, and there are a lot of good, very athletic three techniques. We're not sure if Aaron Donald's going to be back yet or not for the Rams, but even if he's not, left guard, you've got to have a really good combination of movement capability, because there's going to be a lot of reach blocks at that position in the 49ers scheme, and you also have to deliver power. Probably more important to deliver power at left guard than right guard, especially in this 49ers scheme. So there's a lot on the plate of the left guard spot. Last year, the 49ers saw a platoon there between Ben Bartch and Spencer Burford. They might even platoon this year. One of the interesting things that Chris Foerster said during the spring was that he's not sure if any single person will win this left guard job. So even if Carver Willis is the starter for the 49ers to begin this season, there is a chance that he is splitting time with somebody like Robert Jones. Last week in LA, I told you and I showed you some of the old video of Chris Foerster talking about Robert Jones is a really, really good run blocker who needs to improve his pass blocking. The platoon can operate on those delineations, right? That there could be a focus with Robert Jones on the field on run blocking, and obviously you don't have to run every time. You can run play action off of that. But on money down situations, you could have somebody else in there who's going to be able to deliver for the 49ers in obvious pass protecting situations. I don't know how this is all going to shake out, but I do know that tonight's game, the final audition for some of these players in the preseason, is going to feature a lot of players who will not make the 49ers roster, but at least a couple who definitely will. And one of those is Carver Willis, the rookie who is going to be starting at the left guard position. And we're rolling through my old neighborhood now. There's a lot of traffic. We're on Gough Street. There's City Hall. You guys can take a quick peek at it. I should have panned over a little bit sooner for you guys. But Hayes Valley is a really, really cool neighborhood in San Francisco. And I think if you're looking for the most East Coast feel in the city, it's going to be Hayes Valley, just with the busy streets and the density. And we're a block away from Hayes Street itself, where they've got a nice sports bar and nice little town plaza, if you will, in the middle of Hayes Valley. A lot of good places to eat. We'll even roll down the window here so you guys can see Shea Mamon on the corner. Look, the Niners flag at the sports bar. I think it's called After Work Bar, AWB. And that red awning, that's one of the best French restaurant in San Francisco. That's Hayes Street. Good little chocolate shop there. And yeah, that's Hayes Valley for you guys. Good spot. Now we'll see how the freeway portion of this goes. It's going to be one of the, we decided not to turn. All right. Casper deciding to cross 3 lanes of traffic. Just like that. Casper is changing things up on us this time. Seems like the AI has decided to audible much more frequently as these cars have become more and more sophisticated. All right, more of the promised freeway content. We're only doing about 50 miles an hour right now. And I think it's the speed limit at this part of 101 as we intersect with 280. But this is cool. Staying in the right lane. Maybe we'll speed up a little bit as we get past Candlestick. Let's talk about the 49ers roster and who we might see tonight just to prepare you for this game against the Raiders. I think you might see a full game of Adrian Martinez. I really do. Because Mac Jones might dress tonight. We know that Curtis Rourke very likely will not play. Obviously, Purdy won't play. Jones might dress in case Adrian Martinez gets hurt, but it's Martinez and his chance to make his final bid for the 49ers practice squad in Las Vegas. At running back, maybe Kalen Black dresses. Maybe they feel he needs to play a little bit more, but I think it's probably going to be the Jordan James show early. Sincere McCormick, who ran so well last week, and Khalil Herbert. Good stuff for the 49ers. I'm going to pivot quickly to the defense, since in yesterday's live, we talked a lot about the offense, and I just want to go through who we might see at the linebacker position today. But they get that one a little bit more of a mystery for the 49ers as far as who's going to make this team and who's not. Isn't this cool? Look, other side of that hill up there, that's where Candlestick used to be. And we'll even see the exit for Candlestick Park in just a second. If you're ever in San Francisco, we're talking about AI, driverless cars. Every single billboard on the way to SFO, to the airport, is an AI billboard. It's a little dystopian. It's a little too much. If you want to talk about dystopian, just imagine driving the Candlestick for a Niners game back in the 80s or 90s, and your car didn't have a driver. The wheel was just kind of sitting there. These are all tech buses, by the way. This is the most Bay Area stuff of all time. Now that we're on the freeway, we can really give you guys the culture. Tech buses taking workers from the city down to their office parks. Here's Candlestick Park exit. Coming up, you saw the first sign. A lot of history there for the 49ers. A lot of good linebacker play for the 49ers at Candlestick. Most recently, Patrick Willis and Navarro Bowman. Now, if we were coming up north on 101, we'd see the stick a lot easier, or the sight of it. But here comes the exit. It's still there. And they're finally going to start redeveloping it here in a couple weeks. They're going to break ground on the big project that's been several years in the works. That's where the stadium used to be. Anyway, 49ers linebacker position for this game. I think that you need to give Jaden Duggar as many snaps as possible. So I think that he's going to be out there. Warner and Greenlaw won't. Gifford and Nick Martin are hurt. Wallow, does he get some time for the 49ers, or do you just let Larry Worth, Jalen Graham, Deion Jones, whom you traded for, get the majority of the snaps? Obviously, there's still Tatum Bethune. Question for me is, where exactly is Tatum Bethune going to fit into the 49ers pecking order once this cut down comes on Sunday? Defensive back position, obviously, you don't see Lenore. Ronaldo Green is hurt. Stout, minor injury. Mustafa still out with the hamstring. And then there is Jair Brown, who is a starter, so I don't think he's going to play tonight. Jack Jones, a starter if Ronaldo Green is unavailable for week one. Probably won't see him, but you need snaps for Ephesians Prysock. Nate Hobbs is hurt. Do you need snaps for Marquise Siegel? Maybe. Saran Neal's probably somebody who bubble wrap. You've got plenty of DBs, though, on the side of the roster that is not projected to make the 53 who can take snaps tonight. Between Darrell Luter Jr., Jacob Robinson at cornerback, Ashton Davis, Patrick McMorris at safety, Jalen Stroman at safety. Those are the types of players that you're going to see in this game. We started this talking about Carver Willis. Oh, look, we get a look at the Caltrain. I always talk about the new trains they have. Do you see that in the distance? It's approaching Bayshore Station. Those trains, I know you can't see them all too well here through the bushes on the side of the highway. We're in Brisbane, not to be confused with Brisbane, where I'm flying to in Australia on Wednesday, but those new trains are from Switzerland. They're super nice. Sometimes I take them down to Levi's. Approaching south, San Francisco. Staying in the right lane of the freeway, doing 53 miles an hour. Nothing too crazy. 49ers offensive line. You see Carver Willis tonight. You probably see Connor Colby tonight. Colby, I'm guessing, starting at right guard. Maybe he gets some time at left guard if he's still technically competing for that position. I would expect Drake Nugent to start at center. So you see Nugent and Doug Kramer Jr. I would expect Nick Zakel to come in and play some guard at some point for the 49ers. Brandon Parker, right tackle. Enrique Cruz Jr., left tackle. Cruz, obviously the other 49ers draftee along the offensive line this year. And Isaac Alarcon, their international exemption player. Look, we're closer to the Caltrain now. This is I wish I could see it. There it is. We promised the Caltrain from Switzerland. You get the Caltrain from Switzerland going under the 101 freeway. This is a smooth live. Now this thing, it's going to drop me off at the Grand Hyatt SFO, and then I have to take the air train. So they're not letting Casper go onto the airport terminal loop yet, but still cool nonetheless. Here, now you get a shot of Casper with that train in the background. They electrified the Caltrain here a couple years ago, and it has made it a lot faster and a lot smoother with those new cars. Anyway, back to the top. Carver Willis, obviously somebody who is more polished than Enrique Cruz Jr. Cruz not going to be starting this year. He's, today he might start for the 49ers, but we're talking about the regular season. Willis always was looked at as the guy who had a chance to be more of a ready-made player, and maybe the 49ers now need a ready-made player at that left guard position. Now, it's not out of the question for them to sign somebody if they feel that's going to be a better path at left guard. A player like Kevin Zeitler is still available for the 49ers, but I don't know if they would believe that he fits this team as far as a schematic fit at that left guard position. It's always tricky to know exactly what Chris Foerster is going to want, because so much of what he asks for at these positions, it comes from the cerebral side of the game. How well are these offensive linemen processing what they need to do? Obviously, you need to have certain physical characteristics, and a lot of times those are rooted in athleticism for 49ers offensive linemen. But as I said, left guard is also a muscle position for the 49ers. It's probably the most important muscle position on that offensive line. They run a whole lot more power than they used to, and power means that left guard has to pull, and you have to have that muscle there. They ran majority power against the Atlanta Falcons last year. That's the game, and Connor Colby actually started that game. And I think they ran a lot of power because that's what Colby was most comfortable and familiar with coming out of college at Iowa. So look, you have another AI billboard. That's SFO Airport. I mean, this is all new. We have never been on the freeway before with a Waymo. I think briefly in Phoenix, but not in the Bay Area. Look, your agent has brain rot. Great. Another AI billboard. We could take a look at the 4 Points by Sheraton, the Travelodge, the Park and Fly. I've actually picked up a Turo from there before when I was renting a car. Is that, that 115 MW, is that what, megawatts of dedicated AI compute? So more AI. I mean, AI, a tidal wave of code is coming. It's the AI capital of the world, but those of you who are not in the Bay Area, maybe you could start to develop a little bit more of an appreciation for just how inundated with AI it is. As I ride in my driverless car and I show you the unmanned wheel. So we don't take the standard airport exit. I understand that. That's right here. We're going to go, I guess, south of the airport and then come up from the south to make it to the Grand Hyatt Hotel. I said this last night. I'm going to say it again because I think it is an important message. No, I'm not going to start my live before the game ends tonight because the guys who are out there deserve everyone's full attention. They are at a level that only 0.1% of athletes will ever reach, and that is playing in an NFL preseason game. Even if they don't make a 53-man roster over the course of their entire careers, these guys have put their blood, sweat, and tears into it. That's why I like to watch this part of the preseason. It's a totally different vibe than the regular season, but to me it's also fascinating because these are guys fighting to make their dreams. So that is what I'm going to be watching tonight as the 49ers play the Raiders in the preseason finale. And of course, for fans, when the Niners play the Raiders, always a lot of bragging rights on the line. We got a really plain trains and automobiles theme here today. There's Bart crossing over 101. Pulling out of SFO Airport as the Waymo continues its roll down the freeway. All right, we're about to pull into the Grand Hyatt SFO. Time for me to go. pretty smooth, right? Hopefully the 49ers can get the same from Carver Willis at that left guard position.